The big thing for us is realizing that the future of the world in communications is going to be big pipes, big bandwidth, big capacity, and that we were going to be left behind just like we would have been left behind with candles in 1896.
It was in 1896 that Lafayette residents set a precedent for today's fight over fiber. The city had been passed over by private companies selling a cutting-edge energy source, electricity.
They had much bigger cities they could go to, like Baton Rouge and New Orleans at the time, and so they passed us by. Well, our community decided that we wanted electricity. So that's when LUS, the Lafayette Utility Systems, was formed. And so we had a good message. If we don't do it, we don't get it.
Until the city of Lafayette decided to do it, BellSouth and Cox were in no hurry to improve internet service. But as soon as there was a threat of some competition from the city, they jumped into action at the state capitol.
As soon as we started talking fiber, as soon as we started laying out in a public way that we were thinking about doing this, telephone companies started their lobby. Cable television companies started their lobbies.
Cox and BellSouth had plenty of clout in Baton Rouge, and they used it to try to kill Lafayette's fiber plan. They argued that it represented unfair competition. They wouldn't speak to us.
One of the criticisms that opponents of municipal networks make is that LUS doesn't pay taxes, so you have an unfair competitive advantage over for-profit companies.
Pure bunk. Pure bunk. And they know it. Currently, we're paying somewhere over 10% of our gross revenues in lieu of taxes. That's greater. That's about $17 million. That is greater than by tenfold what the telecommunications companies are paying in Lafayette. So we're actually paying a higher burden.
Vote yes for fiber.
I'm voting yes for fiber.
Vote yes.
Vote yes for fiber.
Vote yes.
Votez oui pour fiber.
The city and the communications giants agreed to put it to a vote. Lafayette residents would decide whether the city could issue $125 million in bonds to pay for the fiber network. Without the deep pockets of the phone and cable giants, Lafayette Coming Together put together an inexpensive and inventive campaign. It included something called the Fiber Film Festival, short, homemade videos distributed over the internet.
So it boils down to this. This good-looking fast machine right here, which you don't really want, or this really nice, fits you like an old shoe type thing right here. Hey, it's the deal of the century to me. What do you think, Lafayette?
Sorry, Sam. Lafayette's not interested.
It was what's known as a viral internet campaign. Not a virus that infects a computer, but something that's funny and compelling that people spread from computer to computer.
Wake up. Smell the coffee. You're getting snowballed. Cox and BellSouth are spreading disinformation in an effort to rob you of your opportunity to have a superior high-speed fiber optic television, internet, and phone connection direct to your home and your chance to pay 20% less. We can rise above that, Lafayette. On July 16th, you can vote yes for LUS fiber to the home. Vote yes for the future. Show some teeth.
Vote yes for fiber for Lafayette.
Vote yes, July 16th for fiber.
People all over the world were looking at this Fiber Film Festival, just laughing about this and just thrilled with it. And I'd get emails from people saying, don't let them stop you, don't let them slow you down.
Take a pause and savor this moment. You have been part of making history.
On Election Day, the people of Lafayette enthusiastically agreed to build their own fiber network. 62% voted to let the city borrow the money and start construction.
And the reason we got the vote, I said often during the campaign, was price and pride. People are going to save money, and people are proud in this community, and they're proud of being a progressive community. And so I think that's what won the vote for us.
The phone company wasn't about to roll over, though. BellSouth filed suit against the plan, once again claiming unfair competition. The court battle has delayed construction by more than a year and cost the city more than $125,000 in legal fees.
What they've been effective at in the past to create fear is to stretch out the time it takes for any fiber optics to get actually online so that they can say, well, look, they're not meeting their expectations. Their business model has failed.
Despite the victory at the polls, the legal battle drags on. The city of Lafayette has had to ask Louisiana's highest court for permission to finally connect residents to the fiber optic fast lane.
As I told my community, to them, we're nothing but a chocolate chip in their jar of chocolate chip cookies, you know. But the last thing they wanted to see was a community the size of Lafayette held up as a success.
A few other communities across the country have also taken on the phone and cable companies, and like Lafayette, succeeded in building municipal networks. But it's an itch the two industries are trying to keep from spreading. They spend around $40 million a year on lobbying in state capitals, and so far, they have convinced legislatures in 14 states to make it more difficult or impossible for communities to build their own networks. We're talking here of a powerful duopoly, less David versus Goliath than one giant against another. That's because in more than 90% of American homes, phone and cable companies are the only two potential sources of internet service. The cable company's only competition is the phone company, and vice versa. To slice off business from their cable rival, the phone companies now say they're going to build a new network of internet service that will be even better than the one they promised in the 90s but never produced. Once again, though, they want something in return. They want control, not just over the copper wires and fiber optic cables, but control over the internet itself.
Information superhighway is a good name for the internet because it really is like a road. When you send an email, for instance, your computer wraps it in a kind of digital envelope, then sends it online. That's it there on the on-ramp. Once it's on the road, it's the same as any other information, say a video conference between lawyers or a song on its way to an iPod. The net doesn't care why it's there or what's inside. Telephone companies say the highway's getting crowded, with box trucks carrying internet phone calls and 18-wheelers full of video, and that it's headed for information gridlock.
You have to have a vision of the future that includes all of the data that's going to be streaming into the home in the form of videos coming in, you know, services that we can't even imagine yet.
That's Mike McCurry. A few years ago, he was press secretary in the Clinton White House. Now he's working as a lobbyist for the industry that wants to kill net neutrality. His clients, giant phone and technology firms, want to turn the information superhighway into a toll road.
What we're really talking about is the same old dumb pipe that we have today that is sooner or later going to get clogged with too much traffic, or a smart, more efficient, and faster network that manages traffic, that treats video information differently from voice information and differently from text information, so that you actually are using technology to manage the way that information flows inside the network.
McCurry's clients want to manage the traffic by building toll booths on the highway because they failed to deliver the fiber networks they promised in the 90s, networks that could have handled the extra traffic like video downloads.
They in effect want to operate a superhighway, but then build a separate premium lane next to it that they're going to charge big content providers for, and then spread the costs throughout all these big users.
So if big users like Google and Yahoo pay the toll, they'll be able to speed information down the fast lanes. If not, they'll be stuck in the slow lanes along with everyone else who couldn't pay the fees. The phone companies have been making their case for dividing the highway in Congress.
Sure, you might have different speeds, but let's use the analogy of what happens here on the East Coast. People go from Washington to New York on Amtrak, all right? They can pay a little more and take the Acela, which is, you know, pretty fast, but it runs on time. They can pay a little bit less and take the local. Speeds for internet connection will only continue to get better. And for those that invest in this new infrastructure, and it's not cheap, they ought to have a right to say, hey, if you want to pay a little bit more, you might get a little better degree of service.
That's all McCurry says his clients want.
We charge 18-wheelers a higher tax because of the extra load that they put on the road. But that, in effect, is what we're talking about here, an additional charge by these super huge users of the internet and allow them, ask them to spread the costs of building some of this network out among their customers.